Hey, I'm Kate and this is UTV. Now, somebody recently said to me, Kate, take care of your body. It's the only place you have to live. And that struck me as both true and very relevant to me in that moment. Now, back in February, I had a DEXA, or a bone density scan. Now, the results were a bit of a shock to me. I have osteoporosis. Not osteopenia, which is the stage before, but osteoporosis. I'm only 56, so I really didn't expect to hear that. Of course, I did what many of us do. I immediately looked at my diet, investigated calcium supplements, and added strengths to my routine. I'm ticking all the boxes, right? Not quite, no. Today, we're going to learn about vitamin K2. Put simply, it takes the calcium you don't need out of your arteries and puts it into your bones. So, it makes calcium work. No other ingredient on the market actually does that. There are numerous published clinical trials showing its efficacy. And we're about to find out why. Let's welcome Dr. Brad McEwen, PhD, Head of Products and Innovations with the Complementary Medicines Group, and he's also a naturopath and a nutritionist. Welcome, so good to see you.
So good to see you.
Lovely. I'm just so glad you could make it. Now,
I'm very happy to be here.
Dr. Brad, in a nutshell, this cutting-edge solution designed for bone and heart health is actually newly discovered, isn't it?
That's correct. But also at the same time, I want you to think it's also not correct.
Oh?
It's correct in the market, as in the last 10 years in Australia, we've had vitamin K2 available to the public.
Right.
But if you look historically, vitamin K2 has been consumed by numerous generations beforehand naturally in their diet.
Oh, okay.
So it's quite interesting, isn't it?
Naturally in their diet. In this country?
Normally in the eastern countries, so
Right.
it's found in a lot of Japan and a lot of other countries similar to that.
I want to investigate that
Yes.
a little bit more. All right, but put simply, what does vitamin K do?
Very simply.
Very simply,
It's actually a
please.
very good question because vitamin K2 does a lot in the body.
Yeah.
But to put it simply, as what you mentioned at the beginning, it takes calcium out of where it shouldn't be to where it should be.
Right.
So right now in our bodies, sitting right here, we actually have calcium floating around our body. It's in the bloodstream, it's doing all its extra beneficial things for us.
Yeah.
But one of its major factors is related to bone health.
Right.
And bone mineralisation. And that's where it's around about 99% of the calcium is actually in our bone. But if we don't metabolise it properly, which means we don't use it properly, it actually goes into the bloodstream and floats around, causing more havoc than what it should.
Oh.
And vitamin K2 has this ability to literally pick it up and take it to where it needs to be. It's like a bit of a director.
So you need vitamin K2 to do that.
Yes.
I can practically hear the viewers actually, grabbing for their laptops and grabbing their phones to find out more about this offer. So I am going to give you those details right now. So this is your gateway to bone health. What you're going to get today is a 6-month supply of vitamin K2. That's 3 times 60 bottles. You're also going to get this fabulous vitamin K2 book. And we're also giving free postage today. So $119.50. Absolutely brilliant. All you've got to do is scan the QR code. You can tap on the Buy It Now app and that offer will ping straight to your phone. We couldn't make it easier. Or, of course, you can visit the website, essentialnutrition.net.au. I'm going to give you a question straight out of the gate.
Yes.
Is there anyone who shouldn't take vitamin K2?
That's a very good question. So essentially we have a catchphrase that vitamin K2, everyone should have some. That's
Right.
one of the catchphrases because
Okay.
it's such a useful nutrient. But there are some people who may not be able to.
Okay, who are
And
they?
those people, that's a good question. So those people could be people taking warfarin, for example.
Okay.
So
So
specific
blood thinners.
it's a blood thinner.
Yeah, right.
Or technically it's called an anticoagulant. So in some people their blood is too thick.
Yeah.
So therefore they need to have it running more like a smooth river and they're not able to do that. So that's where the warfarin comes into it.
Okay.
Now, vitamin K2 works with coagulation, so you coagulate and have the blood running more freely.
Yeah.
They could interact in some people.
Right. So just need to be aware. But I mean, look, as with anything like this, always consult your healthcare professional. Individual results are going to vary, all of that.
That's right.
Dr. Brad, I really feel like we should take a few steps back.
Yes.
Let's talk about what makes healthy bones. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
That's a very good question. So our bones form from a very early age, so actually in utero, so during pregnancy.
Yes.
And up to a certain age, we're building upon, and you can see the image on screen
Yeah.
now, where essentially as we grow older, up to around about age of 21, 22, we're building for the future.
Right.
And the best time is around about 8 years of age to about 12 years of age.
Okay.
And I have a feeling that you and I are gone a little bit past that point, maybe.
Maybe slightly.
Slightly above that point. But that's the best time to actually do it. So all
Yeah.
the kids out there or grandkids, you know, go out there and get
Yeah.
some activity in there and have some vitamin K2 in your diet and
Yes.
supplemental. Well, one of the things I want you to think about is as we get older to that 21, 22 age point, we're building what they call peak bone mass.
Right.
It's bone mineralization. We're actually strengthening the bone, strengthening the core.
Yeah.
And what we want it to look like is part of my model here. It's just a good old
Beautiful.
foam. So that's what you really want it to look like. Is
Okay.
you want it to look nice with some pores in there because
Okay.
it maintains its flexibility and strength.
Right.
If it becomes too porous, which is the osteoporosis effect that
yeah.
we're going to look at shortly, it looks more like that. It's got more holes, but see the flexibility in this foam?
Yeah.
The
too
bones
much.
become too flexible and that's when they fracture or break.
Or break. Yeah, right. Okay. Gosh. Yeah, that's quite a good illustration.
That's
actually.
it.
So how does vitamin K2 help to build and maintain our bones at any age?
At any age. Well, we have a number of different molecules in the body. And one of them is a very good molecule called MCGP.
MCGP. Okay.
And what that actually does, that picks up and directs the calcium. And I want you to imagine it's like a shield
Yeah.
in the arteries to reflect it from the arterial wall, so your
Yes.
blood vessels in the body. And what it will do is then direct it to the bones. Vitamin K2 forms and utilises that molecule.
Right.
So right now the body's doing it as we sit.
Okay.
It's actually forming new bone, taking away new bone. It does that right to the end of life. Not being morbid, but that's when it does it. It keeps going to that point. So if you have the right amount of vitamin K2, it allows you to actually process
Right.
and effectively metabolize the calcium more effectively and take it out of the arterial flow.
Put it into your bones.
And put it into
which
the bones.
is where we need it.
Which is where we need it.
Wow, you didn't know you were going to get a science lesson today, but that's what we're getting. But I kind of feel like it's really important to understand this side of things and the science to understand why
Very much.
this is such a great product. So what does osteoporosis do to the bones?
That's a very good question because
I'm full of them. Full of them.
awesome. I'm looking forward to more. So what it comes down to is general part of it. As we mentioned earlier, there's our healthy bone. So osteoporosis isn't something that gets done to the bones. It's a
No.
condition of the bones. That's the difference.
I see.
It's
Okay.
a condition.
And it's genetic. It can be genetic,
It can
right?
be genetic. So if we look at our good model here, nice porous flexibility as mentioned earlier, that's where you want it to be. When you have osteoporosis, that means you have more pores in the bone. Osteo meaning bone, porous being pores. So you actually have more flexibility in there, which is a good thing, but then it's able to flex and break too easily.
And it can be in any bone in the body,
It
right?
can be, and that's the part that we have to realise is people always think of the hip bone, which is one of the normal things. I've got a bit of a model here for everyone just to sort of show. There's a hip bone and there's your the femur there, so
Right,
the femur
okay.
head going into
Yes.
it. So most osteoporosis actually happens in this area because I want
Right.
you to imagine it's just free floating.
Yeah.
It just sits in that socket joint. And this area here also gets osteoporosis. But any bone can actually get
Mine's in my lumbar
osteoporosis.
spine. That's my worst bit. And
So
which might explain the back pain, maybe.
The back pain. So the back pain would come first. And that may have been there for several years beforehand. And you're thinking, oh, I'm just sitting down or I've gone for a run or done something different. And that part there is this area here. So the lumbar is the lower part.
Yeah.
Easy way to remember, lumbar, lower. It's in the lower part here.
Yes.
And it's in that pelvic girdle, as we call
Yeah.
it. So it's that stability that holds us upright. And if that area gets weakened bone, that's
Yes.
when we end up with sore legs, sore back, and these weird symptoms. They're signs telling us something's going
Something's
on,
going-
but we really need to start thinking about, let's investigate.
Why do women cop it more, or generally tend to cop osteoporosis more than men?
Another good question. Why do they cop it more? And
Yeah.
and that is because the bone structure is different. So the pelvis is actually different because of childbearing.
I was going to say, does
So that's-
childbearing have anything to do with it?
It can, because it's actually a different structure of the pelvis for a start.
Yeah.
Men also have more testosterone, which is
Yes.
used for building healthy bone, as well as estrogen. So you have all these natural hormones. So you would have all heard of testosterone, estrogen,
Yeah.
progesterone. So they're in there. Men and women all have the same hormones, just different levels, depending
Yes.
on which sex you are. In this case, men are more protected a little bit longer because of the testosterone building effect.
Okay.
Women have less testosterone, but that's balanced up by the estrogen factor. And once you hit menopause, of course, the estrogen hormone's lower and the testosterone's trying to make up the gap.
Right.
Essentially what's happening. Men do get osteoporosis in the same places, but just later on.
Speaking of this, let's have a look at this video. Well, you might be at the same stage of life as me, or a bit later, a bit earlier, but I hope you're starting to see the enormous benefits that vitamin K2 can do for your bone density. And I think it's a problem that a lot of premenopausal or perimenopausal and postmenopausal women have. So this is your gateway to bone health, and there can't be much that's more important than your skeletal health in the end. That's what's holding us together. What you're getting here today is a 6-month supply of vitamin K2, so it's 3 lots of 60. You're also getting the free book, which we'll talk about in a minute, and free postage. Very generous, Dr. Brad, thank you. $119.50, so a great deal today for 6 months supply. Of course, always consult your healthcare professional, that goes without saying. Just go online, essentialnutrition.net.au. You can buy it in the Buy It Now app. Just open it up, it'll ping to your phone, or of course you can scan that QR code. Whatever you prefer, we've made it easy. We've made it easy. Can I just ask you about the book? Because
Yes.
we've mentioned it a couple of times. Just tell me what this book is and why it's so good.
The best thing about this book is it's a small book, so you don't need to read the whole textbook, which is a good point. So it's all the science, the background, everything
Yeah.
of vitamin K2, but written in a way so people can understand it.
Good, okay.
Which is the exciting thing
Because we're
about
not
it.
scientists, most of us, like you.
And it comes down to the information is detailed. It provides us with enough information to be able to improve ourselves.
Yeah, brilliant. And like I said, I mean, not much could be more important than skeletal and heart health. That's what
correct.
keeps us going.
It does.
Now, I got another question for you. Can you get any or enough vitamin K in your diet? And how much vitamin K2 would you need to actually eat to have a positive impact on your bones and your health?
Very good question, because it comes down to, if you look at the Western diet,
Yes.
it's typically deficient in a lot of nutrients
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's a lot more fast foods or processed foods compared to the traditional diets of like the Mediterranean or the Eastern diets.
Yes.
So you'll find the traditional diets have a higher level of vitamin K2 and other nutrients for bone health as well,
Right.
such as the minerals.
Yeah.
In this case, we can see on screen that you do need to have quite a lot of nutrients. So if you think about it, 4 kilos of beef.
Yeah.
That's quite a lot.
That's a lot of beef.
That's it. That's a lot of steaks on the plate.
It is, isn't it?
Milk 5 litres, whole yogurt 5 litres. So there's it's in a lot of these foods, but the amount that you need to consume to get the right dosage.
So you'd have to consume 4 kilos of steak to get the right amount of it. Oh, okay, no.
That's it.
No, that's not going to work.
It's not going to happen on a good day.
Wow. Okay. Okay. Talk us through this one.
Yeah. So another thing people look at, you may have heard of vitamin K1. Mm-hmm. So vitamin K1 is in a lot of our green leafies.
Yes.
And that's the broccolis, etc. Vitamin K1 is very useful for our body, but it stays normally within the liver. Okay. It has what they call intrahepatic, using the technical term. It stays within the liver and does a lot of work there.
Yeah.
The difference with vitamin K2 is it makes its way outside into the bloodstream, like we mentioned earlier.
Yes.
And flows through the bloodstream.
Let's just summarise that. It takes the calcium we don't need out of our arteries and puts it in our bones, but only K2 can do that.
Only K2
I'm getting it.
That's it. So vitamin K2 can do that point. And to consume that in the diet, as you saw, 4 kilos and 5 litres of different things.
Well, I mean, you couldn't do that.
You can't do it, even over a week.
Yeah, no.
So to have the daily dosage, you're not going to get there.
No, absolutely not. How was vitamin K2 discovered? Or is that a silly question?
No, it's a good question. Vitamin K2 has been known for like over 100 years. Because we had a lot of research in the early 1910s and 1920s, bit of a renaissance with research because we had better instruments.
Yeah.
And vitamin K was discovered. So vitamin K for coagulation.
Right.
And people are saying K, C, like they're trying to work out how it works out. It's actually based on the European spelling of coagulation, which is with a K.
Okay.
So it was originally found that when people were deficient in vitamin K, because they hadn't worked out K1, K2 yet, you bled out more. So if you had a cut, you had a longer bleeding time, for example. Then they looked into more research into the blood factors first, because that was easier. They didn't have the bone scans and everything else that you needed. So once they got through that, they noticed some populations had better health.
Which populations?
So there was a lot of populations in Japan, for example, have a lot of good population health. And you may have heard of the blue zones and everything else like that.
I was actually going to say to you, I watched a documentary about the blue zones, and one of the things they had in common, obviously, was diet, just regular exercise, normal up and down steps, tending shrines or plant beds, but not the gym necessarily, but just being active, having a sense of community, and diet.
Move with purpose.
Move with purpose. Love that.
That's one of the things I say. Move with purpose.
Yeah.
Go up and down the stairs. Don't race up and down the stairs because you might have an accident. But, movement is something that you do. I've got one of these good old watches that tells me to get up like every hour, so I move around as a health thing.
Just wait till the end of the show.
I won't leave just yet.
Yeah. But tell us a bit more about Norway and Japan. Because, sorry, I interrupted you with the blue zones because that was so interesting. Watch it if you can. It's
a big area of research with the blue zones because the people in those areas have greater lifespans and health spans.
Much greater.
So healthier lifespan in those areas based on, as you said, diet and lifestyle, meditation, exercise or physical activity,
and
movement.
Sense of community.
Sense of community and just being at one with one, but also being with community.
So what are the foods they're eating that are so rich in vitamin K that we've kind of lost in our Western diet?
A lot of fermented foods. So the good old fermented foods, which the general Western population don't consume much of. We may have some sauerkraut or something basic like that from time to time, but we actually don't consume it as a general food. We normally go for a fruit and veg basic and some meats and some dairy, etc. But we don't take the time, so to say, to have the fermented foods. No. And that's where our body can actually...
Fermented. The Germans love sauerkraut. It's
part of the fermented food tree, so the different cabbages and everything else like that as well. And our body can actually metabolize with the vitamin K2 as well, with our microbiome. And that's a whole different 50-minute show for that one. So we won't talk about that one today. But the body has this absolute wonderful mechanism to be able to recycle and reuse things.
Yeah.
Except for at the time, our diet and lifestyle is not allowing us to do that properly.
So what you're saying is, unless we're going to move to Japan or maybe Norway and completely change our diet, this is the only way to get vitamin K2, enough vitamin K2 into our diet. And I'm sure you are now thinking, I hope you are, this science is amazing.
It's good science.
The discovery is convincing, and bone health is so important. This is your gateway. This is it right here. Vitamin K2, 6 months supply you're going to get today, which is 3 lots of 60. You're also getting the free Vitamin K2 book. So for $119.50, Gateway to Bone Health, improve your bone density. It's never too late, is it, Dr. Brad?
It's never too late.
You get the free book, the free postage. Individual results are always going to vary, of course, and I should add, I've started taking this now only in the last 3 weeks, so far too early to say, but I'm very excited about what it could do for me. So what sort of dosage do you recommend?
With dosage, the clinical trials that we're about to talk about
Yes, we're going to talk about those, yeah.
Are 180 micrograms per day.
Okay.
Which sounds very small, because it is. It's very small, as compared to vitamin C, which might be 500 milligrams a day people may take in a supplement.
Right.
Vitamin K2 is 0.18 compared to that, so 180 micrograms.
So that's one of these tablets.
One capsule a day.
One little capsule.
Which is easy to do. You can have it with breakfast, have it with dinner. You know, just have it at the same time each day to make it easy. Do a bit of it as a ritual.
Do you take it with food or on an empty tummy, or what's the best thing to do?
Best with food.
Yeah, okay, good. So breakfast. I'm trying to remember to do it with breakfast, because then if I forget, there's always lunch.
There's always lunch. So if you think about it, if you start the day well, you get up, you move, you know, do your movement, as we're saying, have yourself a nice breakfast, and then take your supplements, take your vitamin K2, and any other supplements that you need to take at the same time. It makes it easy for you to remember, because that's one of the things people find. It's the, you know, I've got to take all these products and I don't know what to do. Well, make it easy. Have it with a meal.
Yeah,
you get the better absorption across the board.
Just get into the habit.
It just makes it easy, and it's habit, like you said.
How young should you start taking vitamin K2?
Age is not a factor.
Okay.
So you could be 50 years young, 18 years young. There's different dosages for teenagers and younger. So, for example, a 10-year-old, 180 micrograms is too much. It's normally around about 90, so it's like half the dose. So,
and do you do smaller doses, or would you recommend?
With this product here, we don't.
No.
This is set up for adult dosing.
Yes. Yeah.
But you could actually, in some cases, you know, open up the capsule, sprinkle half out.
Sure.
If you're good with math, sprinkle half out and then half 2 days in a row. But that makes it difficult for some people to do.
And in the end, I think the people that are going to see the most benefit, how quickly would you see a benefit, do you think?
That's one of the big questions.
Yeah.
How quickly? Because in the Western society, we're very impatient. We
are.
want to have results straight away, and it's like...
That is true, and that's not realistic, is it?
It took a while to get from there to there.
Oh, yeah.
It took a while, so it's not going to happen overnight.
No.
So we need to take a little bit of time. So most of the clinical trials are done over 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, 3 years, which is some of the two main studies we'll talk about shortly.
So what you're saying is, Kate, take a chill pill. It's going to take a little bit of time.
Yes.
But also, very importantly, you do need to be consistent with taking it every day, once a day, with your breakfast or your lunch or your dinner, whatever works for you. And then it's going to take some time.
Consistency is the key, because again, it's the building blocks.
Yeah.
We can even use Lego as an example. You're rebuilding the Lego blocks of the bone. So it takes time to take that calcium out of the bloodstream, as we mentioned a number of times, put it into the bone, making it, strengthening the bone structure again, but also making it flexible at the same time, so we don't fracture. Because you don't want to have that petrified, you know, that tree in the forest that just breaks very easily. That's your osteoporotic bone.
Yes.
Or you got the really strong tree next to it, which is your good bone.
Yeah.
That's where you want to be. And it takes time for that tree to grow.
So we have to be patient.
Let's
also be very clear with our viewers, is there anyone who shouldn't take this? I think we just need to be very clear on that.
Yes. So the people who shouldn't take it are people taking warfarin, anticoagulants or blood thinners.
Yeah, okay.
In that case, so, you know, talk to your health professional.
Of course.
If you're unsure, always talk to a health professional.
Yeah, of course. And individual results vary, but in a sec we'll get to talk about some of those clinical trials and the results they saw. But I want to ask you about you and the company. Now, Essential Nutrition Vitamin K was developed and formulated and manufactured right here in Australia, wasn't it?
Right here on the northern beaches.
Where I live.
So here we go.
I have visited, actually. Dr. Brad did give me a tour of the factory.
And we got to have a bit of a play in there as well. You got to see how everything works.
I did. It was really interesting.
Yes.
So talk us through all of that in terms of the factory and how things work there.
One of the best things to know about Australian products is, as you can see on screen, there's a lot of technology involved.
Yeah.
So when a ingredient arrives, we call it a raw material sometimes, it's tested to prove it is what it is.
Good.
So we manufacture the vitamin K2, it's shown and scientifically evaluated as vitamin K2. So in Australia, you know what you get
Yes.
with the products made in Australia. From there, it goes through multiple other scientific tests to prove that it is what it is. And you can see on screen, there's all different quality checks as it goes through.
Yeah.
It's weighed up and assessed and checked to make sure you get the right dose each time.
Yeah.
And another factor we have is what we call stability, which means the product is tested every 6, 12, 18, 24 months, for example, to show that there is 180 micrograms in there per capsule. Even after, if you take it in the first 2 months, that's fantastic. If you happen to leave it in your cupboard and you forget and don't do your ritualistic effect each day, and you're concerned and it's still within the expiry date, it will still be the 180 micrograms.
Yeah, awesome. I mean, gosh, when we visited, we did have to completely gown up, didn't we?
We did, yes.
We had to stand in an airlocked area before we could go in and have a look. It was quite a very professional outfit, I've got to say.
It's very professional, and I will say at the same time, very fun.
Yeah,
Going
lovely
in there,
people.
and it's lovely people to work with, and it's very scientific evaluated. A lot of traditional work as well, because you learn as the decades gone with manufacturing better ways on how to do things.
Yeah, of course.
And the science supports it. But as you can see from the images there, the video, there are a lot of different checks involved, and manufacturing in Australia is the highest quality in the world.
Glad to hear that. Now, you literally are down the road from this studio, but is it true that the origins are from the current CEO's grandma's kitchen?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Everyone has an origin story, and this is it.
Oh, look, there's Iris and Jack, right?
There's Iris and Jack.
Yeah.
So this is the origin story here. So Craig, the CEO, is been born into a manufacturing family.
Yes.
So his parents and grandparents worked with Blackmores originally in the day.
Ah, okay.
So they started working in the kitchen sink, so to say, making up cough syrups and everything else.
Yeah.
And then as science and manufacturing techniques developed, they were able to go into the larger premises and.
But I love the fact it was all started in the kitchen.
I know. Isn't that where health starts? In a good quality kitchen with good food.
Absolutely true.
So, and that's where it starts with a lot of manufacturing.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, it would do. Now, I mentioned earlier about the clinical trials. I've mentioned it a couple of times. Why don't we have a talk about those? Because obviously that's very important to understanding why this worked. Tell me where they were conducted, what they found, all of that.
Perfect. So a lot of clinical trials of this type of nature, particularly for 3 years.
Oh, there's some of the examples.
There's some of the examples.
Oh, there's an
there.
article with you on it. You can just about see it.
There's my one there. I had the pleasure of writing a literature review.
Right.
Now, literature review is where you actually review all the classic literature out there and test it to make sure that's good quality and get all the results out of it.
Right.
In the case of the literature review, this is one of the studies that was in there.
Ah, okay. Tell us about this study and what they found.
What they found. So reading from the title first. So it's a 3-year low-dose MenaQ7, which is its chemical name for vitamin K2, supplementation study. And what they found was this: it helped decrease the bone loss. So like I mentioned earlier, as we get older, we start to lose bone mass because that's a normal thing. This is a 3-year double-blind placebo-controlled trial. So what that means is that one group of people took 180 micrograms of the vitamin K2.
Yeah.
And the other group took, I don't want to say a sugar pill, but they took an identical looking capsule.
Okay.
So one group actually got given nothing in a way, in a capsule, and the other one got the vitamin K2. And then they tested. And they tested at various time points.
Over 3 years.
Over 3 years, which is a very good clinical trial.
Patience is the name of the game here, as we were discussing
Patience.
earlier. Yeah.
Things take time, and so does research.
Yeah.
And they tested at 12, 24 and 36 months, so the 3-year point. And as part of the process here, which is the exciting part, is they use science, not just how people felt.
No, of course.
Which is part of what we looked at earlier when we're talking about the Norwegian people as well as the Japanese people. They were able to work more physically, and they were running around doing stuff that we don't see 70 and 80-year-olds normally do, and they were because of their vitamin K status.
Yes.
In this study here, they also backed it up and supported it with research.
Right.
With clinical evidence with science. And you mentioned DEXA earlier.
Yes.
So there's your dual X-ray where they can measure the bone mineral content. So it's actually measuring what's in actual bone component.
Yes.
What's in there.
Okay.
And as part of that, it's calcium, magnesium, like other minerals that make up your bone, because bone's made up of all different things, but mainly calcium. So one of the things they found at the end of 3 years, they had a significant increase in vitamin K status. So which is a good thing,
which is a very good thing.
Which means by taking the vitamin K, you increase the level of vitamin K in the body.
Right.
Which is what you need.
Which can only be a good thing.
Which can only be a good thing, while the placebo group, of course, didn't, because they weren't taking vitamin K2.
Of course.
That didn't happen. They also found that there was a age-related decline change, I've got to say that very slow, where the bone was lasting longer in those people that were taking vitamin K2. Okay. So the placebo group, I know this is very scientific, but the placebo group, their bone started to get thinner and weaker, you might as well say.
As they aged.
As they aged over the 3 years, because that's a significant portion of time.
Of course.
While the people taking the vitamin K2, that was slowed down.
What sort of age were these people? Sorry to interrupt.
No, that's okay.
I'm just quite interested to know.
They were between 55 and 65,
Right.
so they were postmenopausal.
Yep.
So it was deliberately chosen to be women because they were looking at the main group.
Yeah.
And 55 to 65 was the age
Okay.
group. There have been other clinical trials since that have got wider age groups.
Many of them, hey?
But when you do, many. but when you do the actual clinical trial, you want to put together a group of people that you can analyse where you know there's a significant difference.
Yeah. And the results were significant. So all of that has led to what we've got on the
Vitamin
table
K2.
here, which is brilliant. You described this to me earlier as a nutritional insurance policy. Do you want to explain that?
It's a nutritional insurance policy, a safeguard, a safety shield, all the different terms that we can use for it, because it actually allows us to better improve our health. Because vitamin K2, we've talked about today, does work with the bone and blood health, but it has so many other functions as well.
Sure.
Which we'll talk about
Yeah,
shortly,
we will.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
But it does so many extra benefits.
Yeah.
There. This was another clinical trial that was mentioned,
Yes.
arterial stiffness.
What does that mean?
It's a good question. What does it mean? I was going to bring a hose in with me, but we couldn't, had no space for it
Maybe
here.
not.
Maybe
The cameras.
not. The cameras won't like the water.
No.
But I want you to imagine a hose. When the hose is relaxed on the ground,
Yeah.
that's your normal arteries, your normal blood flow, you might say. As soon as you turn on the tap, you get this sort of turbid force of the water going through, and the hose gets harder.
Yeah.
That's arterial stiffness. That it gets harder, and therefore the blood flow doesn't go through it properly.
Got you.
You need to have that. So there's like an example, like there's an O-ring. So you want that flexibility to go through. But when it's stiff, it hardens up and it stays as a circle. And the blood pressure changes. You get elevated blood pressure because the body, and it's all its wisdom, because remember, it's very smart. It's trying to rebalance your blood pressure, but it can't because this is not being flexible enough. So that's the arterial stiffness. So again, after 3 years, because again, it's a long, good period of time to do.
Which makes it so much more believable, I guess, or
It
viable.
does. Short-term studies give us a mechanism. Longer-term studies give us the results that we can look at. In this case, the arterial stiffness was reduced and there was better blood flow.
Wow.
That's the long and short of it, in a way. And again, it was the vitamin K2 group that had the benefit, whereas the placebo group in this trial didn't have that same benefit.
I mean, the benefits are everything. Let's talk about some of the benefits of taking vitamin K or adding this to your diet. Let's talk about bone health.
Yes. So in regards to bone health, we've been talking about today, it works with bone mineralization.
Yeah.
So we're putting, again, calcium and other minerals into the bone. Bone metabolism, because right now, you wouldn't believe it, our bones are building up and breaking down as we sit here.
Right.
As the viewers are sitting there watching this, your bone is, and that's a natural process, but you want to be building up more than what you're breaking down.
Of course.
And the breaking down, of course, is the osteoporosis.
Yeah.
It works with the production, activation and carboxylation of osteocalcin. That's a big phrase.
Oh, Dr. Brad, here we go.
Here we go.
He's turned scientist on us.
Turn scientist. The nutshell is osteocalcin. It's a molecule that transports calcium to the bone. Right. Osteocalcin. So sometimes things are named so easy for us.
Yeah.
So it's a transporter of calcium to the bone.
Okay.
Makes it easy.
All right.
And it's a synthesis of that molecule, the matrix GLA. And that's the one that I was mentioning. It's like the shield that protects the arteries from the calcification.
So you talked about the improvement in arterial stiffness and therefore blood flow. So there are benefits for blood as well.
Yes,
or blood flow.
There are many benefits for blood flow.
Okay, let's talk about some of those. I think they're going to come up in a minute, but
yes,
here they go.
So
here they are.
Overall cardiometabolic health. So cardiometabolic conditions or diseases, one of the biggest killers worldwide.
Yeah,
So I'll do
okay.
that as a main point now. So if you can take vitamin K2 to improve your cardiometabolic health, your blood quality, so to say.
Yeah, okay.
It's essential for coagulation, prothrombin and coagulation factors. That allows your blood to flow more quickly,
Yeah.
but also to clot effectively and you don't bleed out,
Yeah.
essentially. And also, as it mentions, prevents and reduces calcium, deposition in the arteries. And that's what we'll mention earlier. You don't want it in the arteries, you want it flowing through the bloodstream and then being taken into the bones.
Yeah.
And there's the
Wow.
clinical trial information on reduces
Yes.
arterial stiffness.
Stiffness, yeah. Isn't it amazing that what's in one of these little capsules can do all of this? What are some of the other benefits? Here we go.
Some of the other benefits, and what I love is vitamin K2 is not just blood and bone.
No.
The other benefits, antioxidant, has anti-inflammatory effects. So as we get older, there's more inflammation
Yeah, of
and
course.
more what we call oxidative stress
Yeah.
on the body itself. Brain signaling. So they're looking at clinical trials in Alzheimer's disease.
Wow.
Early trials in that. So I'm not saying it's going to help with that
No.
right now, of course, but they're looking at brain signaling, which is like the brain's ability to communicate with itself. Because right now, we're talking, thinking, moving our hands. It's the brain doing cool stuff
Yeah.
all at once.
Yeah.
And it's telling itself, it's directing itself what to do.
It's
So
fascinating.
It's fascinating.
Where does vitamin D3 fit in?
Vitamin D3 is an amazing pro-hormone, in some cases, some people call it.
Okay.
So people say we get vitamin D from the sun. We actually don't. We get UVB radiation from the sun.
Right.
And then the body makes vitamin D.
Okay. Okay.
Remember, it's fantastic. It's very smart. So it actually makes vitamin D from the sun waves.
Yes.
And again, it's bone mineralization, muscle health, because you need to have good muscles around the bone to help protect it. Immune health, nervous system function, antioxidant, anti-inflammatory. So it's
All
the
those benefits.
K2, D3 linked together. Works very, very well.
Wow. Are you convinced yet, everybody?
I am.
I mean, isn't it amazing that what's in this tablet, 180 milligrams, can be so beneficial? If you want a nutritional insurance policy, get some of this in. I mean, you've got to be patient, but it's
Yes.
going to help your bone and cardiovascular health at any age. I told you at the story at the beginning of the show what I went through with my DEXA scan in February, having osteoporosis at 56. Look, my mum did have it, so I shouldn't be that shocked, but I was very surprised and a bit shocked, like, oh my God, what do I do? And I was saying, I did all those things you think you need to do. You add strength, you try and look at your diet. You think, right, I need to find a good supplement. I'm not a great believer in supplements, but I am now.
Very good.
The science has proven, it backs it up. It's proven that this, albeit over a period of time, can help to build your bone density again. Amazing. I'm going to give you that deal again. You're going to get a 6-month supply of vitamin K2. That's 3 jars of 60. You're also going to get a free book all about vitamin K2, a simplified version so that you and me can understand it, not just Dr. Brad. And also free postage. Thank you very much for that. So it's a great deal, $119.50. All you've got to do is scan the QR code, go to essentialnutrition.net.au or go to buy it now and the offer will ping to your phone. So to give you a chance to order right now, we are going to roll to this clip. Take a look at this.
Did you know that since the very beginning, the bone we develop in our youth affects the trajectory of bone health throughout life? Here's why it is crucial to supplement with vitamin K2 as early as possible to secure that foundation. For calcium to reach bone, we need a protein called osteocalcin to guide the way. Osteocalcin levels are naturally 10 times higher in children than adults. But to work properly, osteocalcin needs to be activated by vitamin K2, a vitamin in which 97% of people eating Western diets are deficient. K2 is truly the key to healthy bones throughout life. If calcium is money in the bone bank, imagine vitamin K2 as multiplying your interest. 1 today is 2 tomorrow. Every deposit paying dividends at opposite ends of the curve. We achieve peak bone mass in early adulthood. The denser our bones, the stronger they are under pressure, and less likely to succumb to fractures and breaks. Adolescence, adulthood, pregnancy, menopause, and into our senior years, we need our bones to carry us through these milestones. Our bones need vitamin K2 to compound benefits through all of life's stages.
Hey, if you've just joined us, we're talking all things vitamin K2, the gateway to your bone health. Did you know that 97% of people in this country are vitamin K2 deficient? And vitamin K2 is essential because what that can do is take the extra calcium in your blood stream or your arteries and put it into your bones. So if you are somebody who's got osteoporosis, you're osteopenic, this product can actually help you build your bone density. Incredible. We've got Dr. Brad McEwen with us, PhD. He's an amazingly clever man. And he's been talking us through the science, the clinically proven trials, and also just how this works. Maybe you are perimenopausal, postmenopausal, so listen up. I think you're going to want to hear this. Let's take a step back, though, and let's just talk about, again, what makes a healthy bone.
Good question. And when we just saw that clip, bone bank was a very good point to make out. So vitamin K2 improves your bone bank. So let's start talking about good bone health and bone quality.
Yes.
So we mentioned earlier that it's going through the different life stages of life. You're building up bone, and as you process and get older, the bone starts to become weaker.
Yes.
It's a inevitable fact of life.
And some of us
time.
sooner than others, right?
Some of us sooner than others. And that could be as early as 40, 35, 30,
Right.
for example.
Wow.
If anything, you want your bones to be healthy your whole life.
course.
Because it's a good reservoir of nutrition as well for the body.
Yeah.
Because the blood flow.
Of course.
So what we're looking at for healthy bone is making sure we have a good quality diet, lifestyle, physical activity, movement, of course, and then making sure the diet.
Because what I wanted to say to you there is, and just remind the viewers, is that there's a picture of a healthy bone, but it's not really possible in the Western diet to eat enough vitamin K. We were saying it would be 4 kilos of beef.
4 kilos of beef.
4 kilos of beef, to get enough vitamin K2, it's just not possible.
4 kilos of beef, 3 litres of milk.
Yeah,
the amount
our diet
of food
just isn't rich.
Daily. If you had that a month, it's still maybe achievable, if you know what I mean. For some people, maybe, but not per day.
No. So we need something
need to
like
make sure
this.
we have it.
So it's horrifying how much you have to eat. You'd have to eat on a daily basis to get enough vitamin K to improve your bone density. So this product here is absolutely incredible. 180 milligrams. You take that once a day, and over a number of years, that will improve your bone
That's
density.
right. And a lot of the research is showing that when you take 180 micrograms per day, micrograms per day, it will work on the blood health, like the arterial stiffness that we talked about earlier, the bone density, reduction of fractures as well.
Let's have a look at this again, because I thought that was a really good demo.
Looking at my very expensive bone models here.
I know.
So what we have here is a general healthy bone. As you can see, it's got some pores in there.
Yeah.
And that allows for some flexibility, because you don't want your bone to break every time you walk.
No.
And the bones will be too heavy as well. So you have the bit of a flexibility, and you have the porous for the blood flow and nutrition into the bone, because it doesn't get as much as other parts of the body.
Right.
As we end up with having a more osteoporotic bone, which is the condition of the bone, we end up with this model here.
Looks like that.
So we have a lot more pores in it, osteoporosis, so it's more pores. And anything with osis at the end means condition thereof.
Okay.
So if we have osteoporosis...
Holes in your bones.
Holes in your bones.
Yeah.
And if you look at this here, it's a lot more flexible, which people might think is good, but you're walking down the stairs and you're flexible too much.
Or if you trip and fall.
The risk of fracture of the hip, just bring that model over here.
Yeah.
That's the issue here. So it's just going to fracture, and it's going to come out of its joint, and then you're in strife.
Yeah. Look, if you're menopausal, you've got osteoporosis, I think this is something to really consider. It's like a nutritional insurance policy for your bones.
Very much.
Now, It's simple to order. All you need to do is go to essentialnutrition.net.au, go to the Buy It Now app. If you open that, the offer will ping straight to your phone. We've made it very easy. Or you can scan the QR code. $119.50 is going to buy you 6 months' supply of vitamin K2. So that's 3 lots of 60. You're also getting the free book, very interesting, all about vitamin K2, all about how it's going to benefit your body. And you're getting the free postage. Of course, individual results are going to vary, and we'd always say consult your healthcare professional, particularly if you take blood thinners. But you know what? It's time to shop. It really is. And we're going to come right back after this. It's fascinating stuff, isn't it? When we were chatting earlier, we talked about the so-called blue zones where people in certain parts of the world live way beyond anyone else. And obviously, sort of gentle exercise, sense of community, health and nutrition were the major factors. Talk to us about that.
So they're all good points about the blue zones. So the populations in these areas tend to live longer and have less health conditions. They have what they call a better health span, which is a healthy lifespan when you shorten it. In this case, they looked at, sense of community and that they ate as a family. They had, weekly communal activities together. But a lot of them worked together as well. And that's where one of the areas they found out that people in those townships were 50, 60, 70 years of age, out there like picking grapes or, doing a lot of manual work. But without looking like they were stressing about it.
Of course. But also their diet is very different to our Western diet, and that was what was a major factor, correct? What sort of foods are they eating that we're not, that meant they had a much better vitamin K2 level?
The difference with the Western diet compared to traditional diets is we have a lot more ultra-processed foods and fast foods because we're very busy and want to eat very quickly. If you look at the traditional countries, such as Norway, Japan, and other Eastern Mediterranean diet as well, they have a lot more whole foods.
They do.
Fermented foods.
So unless we're going to move and we're going to change our diet, it's just not possible for us to get enough vitamin K2 into our bodies on a daily basis. But that's where this comes in. And of course, the clinical trials have proven that. Let's have a look. Tell me about, there's been a lot of them, I know.
There's been quite a few.
Just give us a couple of top-line results.
So top-line results, we're looking at increased bone mineral density, increased bone health in general speaking, brain signalling, which is a very exciting topic, blood coagulation, regulation of calcium in the body. So it keeps coming back to these main points.
It's building bone density again, and you can take it at any age.
Any age.
It's been so interesting. Thank you so much. And I know you've simplified it massively for us because it's a lot to take in. But I think in the end, 180 micrograms of this once a day is really going to help you over time improve your bone density. I want you to go to essentialnutrition.net.au, go to the Buy It Now app, scan the QR code, get yourself 6 months supply of this vitamin K2. It's your gateway to bone health. You're going to get a free vitamin K book. You're going to get free postage, everything you need. Of course, consult your healthcare professional. Just be careful if you are on blood thinners. But otherwise, doesn't matter how old you are, what have you got to lose? Honestly, I'm taking it. I've started. Got to be patient. But it's been amazing talking to you. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Go to essentialnutrition.net.au, scan that QR code. See you soon.